Hello there. We start with tax and whether the world's corporate giants pay their fair share. Finance ministers from the G7 group of wealthy nations meet here in London later on today, and they're expected to back a US plan for a global minimum tax rate of 15%. Now, the idea is to stop multinationals from shifting their profits to tax haven countries, as the tax campaigner Gabriel Zuckman explains. Well, let's see, shall we? Paul Monaghan is the Chief Executive of the Fair Tax Foundation, at the UK-based non-profit organisation that accredits companies with paying their fair share of tax. It's a sort of a kite mark, if you will. Thank you very much for joining me today, Paul. Now, this is interesting. I guess in your view, do you think there's such a thing as a perfect system of taxation? 15% in income tax during their working lives. Isn't a 15% rate a little bit insulting? What we're talking about. Do you think corporations will actually abide by this rate? And if they don't, what's going to happen? Now, we're going to have to talk travel, aren't we? Because everyone has been reacting with dismay, really, after the UK tightened travel restrictions ahead of the vital summer holiday season. Portugal has been moved from the green to the amber list, meaning leisure travel's not allowed and returnees must self-isolate for 10 days. And no new countries have been added to the green list, effectively ruling out European holidays for British travellers. Well, at least for the moment. Well, the news hit the shares of airlines and travel companies, as you can imagine. Katie Austin has this. Well, listening to that is Virginia Messina. She's the Senior Vice President at the World Travel and Tourism Council. Thank you very much for joining me today, Virginia.
Good morning. Great to talk to you.
Now, you're calling for fully vaccinated people, or those who can show a negative COVID test, to be allowed to travel freely. Yet we know that a jab doesn't necessarily prevent you from contracting COVID or transmitting it to others, with potentially devastating consequences to host countries. So is that a responsible message to be putting out there? We've just been talking about coordinated action on tax to prevent a race to the bottom here. Would a similar approach help the travel industry, do you think, rather than this kind of piecemeal policies that are being put together nation by nation? Now, to the United States, where companies created almost 1 million new jobs in May, according to a new survey. That's the most in a year. Add to that, last week we saw the lowest number of people signing on for jobless benefits since the beginning of the pandemic back in March 2020. Now, all of that bodes pretty well for official employment numbers, which are due out later on today. But after the catastrophic job losses caused by the virus, US employers are now struggling to find enough staff to hire, as Michelle Fleury explains. Well, let's bring in Mark Oswald, who's the Chief Economist and Global Strategist at ADM Investor Services International. He's in Gdansk, Poland for us. Good to see you, Mark. Just explain to our viewers around the world what impact these labour market projections are having on global financial markets. I'm feeling playful. I'm going to ask you a really difficult question. How close do you think we are to tapering monetary policy, do you think? Now, do stay with us here on BBC News. Still to come, once bit, twice. Hello there, welcome back. This is BBC World News, the latest headlines for you. Hello there, welcome back. This is BBC World News, the latest headlines for you. Now, let's stay with US news and some trade tensions with China. President Biden has signed an executive order banning Americans, as of the 2nd of August, from investing in dozens of Chinese firms with alleged military ties. Now, the move actually expands an order previously issued by the ex-President Donald Trump. Let's speak now to Mariko. Now, finally, the future of finance, or a mad bubble about to burst spectacularly. Whatever your views on Bitcoin and its rivals, it's clear that cryptocurrencies are one of the most controversial subjects in the financial world at the moment. Well, later on today, about 50,000 people, probably more than that, are going to be gathering in Miami for a Bitcoin 2021 conference. It's the biggest ever crypto conference, and it's going to be attended by the likes of the Twitter boss Jack Dorsey. Regulation, crime, and the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining mining are all going to be pretty high on the agenda. Well, let's speak now to David Gerard, who you've described Bitcoin as the most inefficient payment system in human history. I think it's probably fair to say you're not a believer. What exactly is it that you have a problem with? Is it the concept or is it the product itself? For some positives, and I'm thinking of perhaps some unintended consequences. You mentioned cybercrime and the fact that cryptocurrencies are often thought of in relation to organised crime and cybercrime. Do you think we could see perhaps an improvement in global cybersecurity as a result of the advent of cryptos? David, I could talk to you for another half an hour, but unfortunately we've got other bits and pieces to get through, including the headlines as well. But really interesting to talk to you. David Gerard, author of the book Attack on the 50-Foot Blockchain. Thank you for your time today. Let's have a quick squiz, shall we, at the markets. For joining me today, it's been a pleasure, as always. I'm at Fritz News on Twitter. Keep the conversation going. If you are watching internationally, you've got another hour of me, so I will see you in about 5 minutes' time. Bye-bye.